Hey people, how's it going? It's me again, back again. Today I thought I'd talk just a little short talk, just a little talk about chakras. So, chakras are an interesting topic, and they're one of those topics, like astrology, like tarot, like many other things that get gobbled up by the New Age movement and then, I don't know, pooped out. There's a lot of there's a lot of not bad books, but just really simplistic. People just throwing whatever together in a bunch of texts and then just pumping them out as fast as they can. Just let's get a book out onto the market. Let's sell some bucks, get some cash from all those new age people who don't know any better. But nonetheless, what is this thing about chakras? Are they things that we should take seriously in like a Western context? Should we use them in our own work? I mean, they're used. Forgetting the kind of new agey people who channel dolphins type. Chakras are used seriously in serious schools of development, i.e., the tantric schools of the Eastern yogis. So, how do they use them, and how should we use them appropriately? Some people, I don't know, sing to their chakras or use aromatherapy or all of this, mantras or visualizations. I don't know. Some people, there's so much misconception now on, like, I don't know, what would you call it, like diet or color, or people doing a Facebook quiz and then being like, oh, my Vishuddhara chakra's out. They wouldn't even say that. They just say, like, my throat chakra's out of balance. They don't even know the proper names. Forget about all that stuff. But chakras to some degree, are important because they have a origin, you could say, in the Indo-Europeans. It's interesting. It's said that the first archaeological evidence of chakras actually isn't in India. It's in the Indus River Valley civilization. If you've ever seen, I don't know, Bill Wurtz's History of the World video, it's the Indus River Valley civilization, so in between India and like the Middle East or somewhere around there. There's that civilization, which was an interesting civilization because we've never cracked their writing system, so we have no idea what they called themselves. And also, there's no evidence that they ever had any weapons. So a completely unique civilization, which, I don't know, it would be almost impossible to understand, perhaps. But nonetheless, on cave paintings or drawings, or perhaps on wall frescoes, there's images they have of people in sometimes a seated or a squatting position with spheres allocated on their body where the chakras are. So it seems in modern scholarship that the idea of the origin of the chakras is it actually originated outside of India, like the Vedas, and was brought in to India via certain conquests and people. And then there's that mixing of the rishis and the Vedic traditions and all of the other ritual traditions together. And then slowly there's this boiling upwards, and this collection of esoteric practices starts to give birth. In this place. So that's where chakras do hold a particular place, and they are very ancient ideas. I mean, in the end, the idea is that there is a center on the body, that it's somewhat of a what would you call it, biological, psycho-energetic center. So it's not, some people see them in two ways. That one, they see them as, yes, they're completely real and they totally look like flowers. And some people say that the chakras are in the mind. And it's just when you focus on a specific place, because our mind is connected to our body and vice versa, when you focus on a specific place, that has an effect on the mind, on the psychology, on the subconscious, or on the consciousness of the individual. So if when you focus on a point for a particularly long period of time, it can evoke certain sensations or certain emotions or certain spontaneous visions, etc., etc. That's the idea. So in different systems, you can have different numbers of chakras, the 6, 7, 8, 10,000, whatever. One thing I don't buy is, once again, there's that new agey thing of like, there are new chakras in this new race about to activate. We're all going to ascend to the 5th dimension and the 8th chakra will come. No, don't even at me when you talk about that. Don't even begin to talk about that stuff. Just stick with the traditional systems and build up from there. So, what is a chakra really? They're seen as centers of energy, energy centers of transformation. But what does that mean? What does that mean for us? It means that we have energy within our body, that's stagnant, and there needs to be a way to refine that energy. So this connects then to alchemy, to internal alchemy, which is, if you're into Western esotericism, that should appeal to you. So we have something inside of us that needs refining. Well, then the chakras are this way to churn that energy, to begin to move that energy through us and inside of us, move it inwards and upwards instead of downwards and outwards and spill into the world and continue the creation of the demiurge, blah, 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 blah. We've all watched Aeon Byte. Anyway, so when working with the chakras, how do we know that we're succeeding? Well, there should be an effect. There should be an effect on our consciousness. It should increase the psychic attributes of our personality. What does that mean? It means virtues may become more easier for us, or in a different way that may not necessarily be true, although you should definitely be aiming to be more virtuous, because that's good for cultivation. Your desires empty you of energy, whereas the virtues seal the energy and attract more energy into you. That's why they're virtuous. It's not a moralistic thing, you have to understand. It is a utilitarian thing. Virtues have utility internally, energetically. So it increases the psychic attributes. That could be a start of spontaneous visions, or it could be a start of a sensitivity. That's one thing that Dion Fortune says that's a difference between the East and the Western method. She says the Easterns were all about creating sensitivity. So you become ultra sensitive and you can receive certain impressions that normal people can't. Like, like a radio. A radio can collect radio waves, but you can't see radio waves with your eyes. But a radio can pick them up, receive them, and convert them into sound that you can hear. So in that way, you're refining something inside you. You're refining attributes or a specific apparatus inside you that can then pick that up. The problem with the Eastern method is, if you're too sensitive, well, then when you come back into life, you become overloaded and you can't really come back into life. So you just have to stay out there in the ashrams, stay out there divorced from society. Whereas the Western way was to be a part of society, to change society, to be within the wizard within society, the archetype of the old man who helps the kings, helps the warriors. So if you want to be that, you actually you need there can be sensitive. Obviously you need to be sensitive to a degree, because if you can't sense or feel the energy, then you can't manipulate it. So you do need sensitivity, but the focus on the West is on power and gaining power. So that refining of the energy is important, because yes, it increases psychic attributes, but it also refines the raw power. We need as much power as we can get to that degree. So what's the best chakra to work with? This one is something that I've flippity-floppity done over time. And I change my opinions all the time. Maybe in like a year or two, I will have changed my opinion again. But a lot of people, sometimes they start with the top chakras, or they start, say, the heart chakra. Heart chakra is a good one. If you want to work with the heart chakra, go for it. Work for it intensely and continuously. It said working with the heart can even take you to the void. Sometimes they say working with the solar plexus chakra, the Manipura. That one's good to work with. It can awaken clairvoyance. It can clean out internal things. I've worked with that quite a lot as well. It's even said in some Taoist schools that the center chakra, or that center point, is the point that actually fills the dantian, not the lower point down, which is very interesting. But there's the more dantian orientated one, the Svanasana chakra. But really what I have here, if you've seen my little picture here, it's the Muladhara chakra. This is the detailed picture by Harish Johari, who probably wrote one of the better books on the chakras. Like, I'm not sure if you want to go Western and read, like, Leadbeater's chakras, or Arthur Avalon's, Cosmic Serpent book, or whatever it's called. Or, I don't know, maybe you've read some modern stuff. Maybe you've read Wheels of Life or something like that. Or, what is it, Theory of Chakras is another famous one. There's a bunch of famous chakra books, but Harish Johari, that one's probably one of the best, mainly because once again, he's he's a proper experienced yogi, or he's someone at least who's read a bunch of the tantric texts, and he's compiled them, and he's written them in a way that's very simple to understand and to grasp, and anyone who has any experience in these things can read and go, oh yes, he knows what he's talking about. It's actually good. And so he actually was a bit of an artist, and in his books, he has a lot of these very detailed chakras that have all the deities and proper symbols inside of them, which you don't need to really memorize, but you can use them. You can take this picture and you can meditate on it or focus your concentration on it. Because this first chakra, the Muladhara, why is it important, or why do I place importance on it? Because it's the base chakra, the one in the coccyx or the perineum, between the anus and the genital organs. This chakra is important because you may not have heard this before, but there are, thousands of chakras all over the body, and we only focus on the 7, whatever. The chakras in the legs, there are chakras that go down into the legs. And the reason why, and to the feet and to the knees and etc., the reason why you don't work with those immediately is because it's said that those chakras are connected to certain knowledge that connects us to certain... Those chakras are connected to certain periods in our past that were elemental in nature, or more to speak, when we were animals. When we were in the animal kingdom, those chakras were more active. How should I describe it? What those chakras are they are remnants. They contain all of our animal pasts. When we incarnated in animals, all of that knowledge and wisdom is in there. And yes, it's knowledge and wisdom, but it also is all of the animal passions there. So if you activate those first, you become a more bestial human. Animals, everyone has this thing like, oh, animals, you need to be closer to the animals, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, look, animals are great. But here's the thing. A dog is great. A dog is pure. Dogs, they're full of love. You can be patting a dog and it's just, there's no ulterior motives. It's just happy while you're patting it. And then what happens? And then your partner walks into the room with like a doggy biscuit, and where does all that love go? You can say whatever you want about animals, but in the end, they are slaves to their own animalistic impulses, to their instinctual cylinder. They have no free will. They are a part of nature. We are also a part of nature, but we have free will. And that's why it is more advantageous to be a human. When we're human, we have the potential to be something more. And so what we want is we want to have dominion over those animal parts of us. Those animal parts of us exist in us. And so working with the Muladhara is the beginning of human consciousness. It is the beginning of that. It allows you to have dominion over those lower chakras. And not only that, but it also being the earth chakra, it's the foundation. And what is the foundation of all esoteric work but to cultivate the faculty of concentration? So it's said that, concentrating on the tip of the nose, just concentrating all the rays of the mind actually affects the Muladhara chakra, actually make it spin. So the concept is the chakras are wheels and they all spin intensely. But in most people, they don't really spin that much. They're just slowly spinning and they're not their proper color. They're more gray or black or whatever. But the more you work with it, the more vibrant the color gets and the more faster it spins. And the faster it spins, the more energy is transformed. And the reason why it's also good to work with the Muladhara is if you work with the Muladhara, then where does hot air go? Hot air rises. So if you work with it and you convert energy in that chakra, it has nowhere to go but up. So you gain dominion over the lower, and then that energy that rises up begins to naturally awaken and develop those chakras above it. So that is welcome. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. That's why I would say the Muladhara chakra is probably the more appropriate one to begin with, to spend long hours with. I mean, long hours, if you're not into chakras, but you're interested in them, you can look more of them up. But you can just start with this one. Just add 10 minutes a day. Just 10 minutes to your practice on either side. Or, in the morning when you get up, just focus on this chakra. You can focus on this chakra. You can start doing the end of the nose. You can look up the mantras. Lam, I believe, is L-A-M, is the middle chakra. Is the middle mantra for this chakra that strikes the chakra heavily. But there's also other ones, just a hissing like a snake or a flame, like just kind of singing to the chakra, even though I knocked that before. That can work with this chakra. That's the aim, to slowly develop this chakra, increase those psychic attributes within us, and create something inside of us. That's what we want. We want to have experiences. We want to evoke these sensations. We want... There has to be something, measurable in a sense. We don't want to just be that person who's, you may have seen them, they're kind of like hippies who have just been around for eons, and they're 70 years old now and they're still the same as they were in their 20s, and they haven't really changed at all. They've really been fake, what do you call it? They've been lost in spiritual materialism and they haven't changed at all. And those people usually fall into something like, there is no path. It's all at the beginning. You just need to be in the moment. Why do people say that? Why do they want to commit to no effort? They want to say that because they've spent so long in a lie that to admit that they've wasted their time is too much for their ego. So to cushion the blow of their ego, they have to say that there is no path. But if you're young or if you're old, it doesn't matter. Begin, do something. Work in this way. Transmute your energies. Make them go inwards and upwards. This is merely one way, using a certain Eastern framework, but you can bring it into the West and you can find other things to work with. But that's, I would say, is really the introduction to the chakra systems. You can look at more of the chakras, but really just focusing on this chakra is really the foundation of a lot of things that come later. Anyway, I don't know if you find that helpful. If you do, leave a like and subscribe, and thank you for listening. Bye.